All right, there we go.
I can feel like it was worth my time.
That's it. No, I should have hit record right away. My mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
Wherever I am, that is the lesson in life: is wherever I am, start recording. Because gold is about to be dropped.
That's it. Listen, we're ready.
Welcome to Season 9 of The Sonic Truth, brought to you by Veritonic in partnership with AW360. This season, we're diving into connected TV, the fastest growing force reshaping advertising and marketing today. Because right now, the brands that win aren't the ones shouting the loudest. They're the ones that understand what truly moves audiences and can prove it. And we're bringing in the people driving the biggest shifts in CTV, advertising, and marketing. The leaders, the innovators, and the voices redefining how impact gets made. Let's get into the conversation.
Welcome to the Sonic Truth Podcast. Exciting episode today. I am super excited about this one. I know Evan a little bit, which is awesome. But I think a lot of this audience is going to get to know Evan if you don't know him already. This is Evan Shapiro. He is media cartographer. What other titles do you have, Evan? Introduce yourself. I won't do it justice.
Well, one, I think, if you do know me a little bit, that's probably most awesome. And I think that's how you describe that. It is. I thank you for pronouncing my name Shapiro correctly. And media cartographer is how most people know me. People who know me well understand it's not as bullshit as it sounds. I think if you first meet me and you hear media cartographer, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Mm-hmm. And that's fair.
You made your own title. I don't, are there any other?
No, I didn't. Someone else coined it for me after they saw a presentation. They said, you're the media cartographer. I said,
you're the only one. I feel like you've got.
I am the only, yes. If you find another, please let me know.
The Larry David episode, Curb Your Enthusiasm, so like a spite cartographer.
Spite cartographer, right.
So yes, I think what I'd love to start with, and we don't have to go back too far, but I think like just looking at your journey from someone in media to someone who geeks out on analytics and data, and then infuses that with this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, this kind of pop culture, like catchiness, enthusiasm, and transparency that's really differentiated. I'd be curious, and I think our audience would be curious, just how did that journey start for you, for those who don't know and haven't, read a bunch of articles about you. So maybe start a little bit, as much as the beginning as you can.
So, I mean, I've never really, I took some very traditional jobs along the way, but I've had a very untraditional track of career to get to this point. I dropped out of college. I started in theater. Actually, I started in modern dance, then in theater, on Broadway eventually, then in marketing consultant and guerrilla marketing, then TV, then more TV, then digital, then shit canned on my 50th birthday and wondering what to do with the rest of my life and realizing that I came to New York in the first place to make shit, to not talk about making shit, but to make shit. And I spent, the last 9 years since then doing that. First, really writing on the internet every day about the things that are most important to me. And then I dropped this map of the media universe that Deadline published, and shit kind of blew up at that point. And I've turned that into what I call a creator-centric, creator-led enterprise that is writing, podcasting, cartography, and consulting, but a lot of live too, a lot of speaking and conference curating, things like that. So yeah, it's been a really fun journey, but not one that I could map out for someone else, pardon the pun, to follow.
Do you feel like, now obviously, like I come from a creative background, I think for the creators who are listening to this, it's something you would do for free. Like it's just kind of probably part of you in some way, and it takes different forms. I didn't know you were even started as a dancer.
No. I was in management of modern dance.
Oh no, I was going to say.
Let me be clear. I am not a dancer. Yes,
that's how we really get deep on this podcast. We find out.
But I have always considered myself a creative. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was a creative who rose through management. But still, I worked on. I got to executive produce. I helped create Portlandia. I helped create a lot of stuff out in the world, but I didn't actually work on making it myself.
Right.
It wasn't until I got fired on my 50th birthday and had this existential crisis that I dedicated the rest of my career to literally making stuff myself. And to your point, the fact that I now get paid to do that, I started off putting it up for free, literally on the internet, not knowing exactly where it would go. And this is before being a creator was a thing. I was doing it on LinkedIn. And so thought leadership was really just kind of an idea that was somewhat amorphous and out there, but this part of it was not really a thing. I had seen someone else doing it, a friend, and I copycatted them. But I committed to doing it every day. And that was the beginning of the journey. And then that turned into a creator lifestyle and enterprise that operates a business today that is substantially larger than the single revenue source when I worked at Comcast running a direct-to-consumer streaming service called CISO, RIP. But when I worked at Participant Media, when I worked at AMC Networks, so it's and I don't have any editing. I wrote a blog while I ran IFC. I ran an active Twitter account when I worked at NBC. The PR departments at those companies fucking hated me and would edit me all of the time. I got let go in part because of not editing myself.
Right.
From Comcast, not from AMC Networks. Right. But the crucial thing is now I've built a whole enterprise around this, not being edited.
That's an interesting segue I'd like to dive into, because I think as someone who kind of operates in the B2B world largely, right, in the LinkedIn universe, if you will, and I'm out there speaking and doing the things also, your personality is so connected to what you do, and that kind of unfiltered, the term I call it like conversational profanity, maybe. It just kind of comes out, and it's just like, but you're you. And I think initially, like, you committed to that, and maybe bouncing off the bottom kind of got you there, which can happen to people.
It didn't hurt.
Yeah. And so it might have hurt a little. Now you're here. Like, how much do you even think
having
about
that
it now?
motivation,
Totally.
Having that motivation really helped, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but what would you say to the other B2B people, marketers and people on LinkedIn? Like, you have a courageousness about you. You're not afraid to make fun of Paramount Plus. You're not afraid.
I'm also not original. I'm also, by the way, not original. This is Gary Vee does this incredibly well. Yes, there's more of a consumer brand there, but ultimately he's a B2B. Tim Ferriss, Reid Hoffman, billionaire, but Gary's self-made, and has never changed his personality all the way through consistently. Scott Galloway, Prof G. That's really, that was the inspiration. Oh, he's got a newsletter. Oh, what the fuck does he do? What does he do? He's also the reason why I connected with him, and he was the specific inspiration for me, and we don't know each other. We've met. That's it. We both teach at I no longer teach at NYU. I don't think he actually actively teaches there, but regardless, we both taught at NYU. And so I was like, oh, that's a portfolio. How does that work for him? Right. And if you look, he has a very distinctive graphic style on his newsletter, No Mercy, No Malice, which won the Webby for best newsletter this past year. That I was like, you look at my newsletter, which has a very distinctive graphic style, often with charts and graphs about data that no one else has ever looked at this way. It's basically a 1-for-1. I'm sorry, Scott.
Right. I think though, like to give you some credit here, I mean, art is about every musician, every painter, every
right, exactly.
You're always
Wolf Mother sounds like Led Zeppelin, and they're great at it.
You're still you, right? Like, there's a you in there that like is different. No one can be you, and I think your fearlessness in that is something that I think really stands out to me. And again, there's Gary Vee is also fearless, but like the fact is, like, is that conscious for you? Do you have to gear yourself up for this? It just kind of comes naturally. Like, what is that? Like?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the piece in particular this past weekend that I dropped on Memorial Day weekend, which was debunking the concept that was put into popular culture by the Ellisons, that Colbert, the Late Show, was unprofitable, that it lost.
Right. I saw that
a year.
And you laid out all the numbers. Right.
The way that I laid out those numbers, those are the trade secrets of television. That's how TV works. And I did it in a way that took apart the Ellison's argument and, frankly, the reporting of 2 other publications who never pushed back on what the Ellisons leaked purposely to distract from the fact that it was a quid pro quo. They fired him. They got the approval from the FCC days later. That took a moment.
Right.
You know, this is Larry Ellison, who is friends with the President of the United States.
Right. Have you
who's
gotten
in business.
any angry letters recently?
No, but I've been told recently that the Ellisons do read, or at least David reads
I bet they do.
this stuff, and are not happy.
You'll get there at some point.
And I've been told lately that there are people in other organizations who think that what I write is incendiary. Right. And so, yes, if you look at who I'm making unhappy, and if you look at the words they use to describe me, the thing that I think a lot of corporate America thought about me when I was internal, they're hired to be a disruptor, by the way. That's why someone hires me. It's not, they don't hire me to manage the status quo. Is that I was unvarnished, is that I would never shut the fuck up, and that I always thought I was right. Now, I still think all those things, but I use data to prove, in this case in particular, when you look at the arguments that are happening in the comment section, quibble. There are lots of things that you can quibble with. But the main point is the way they described the profit and loss of the Late Show, 260 hours of programming on CBS with a talent they just renewed a contract with 36 months ago, is not how they calculate the value of that property internally there. It's a lie to cover up something else. Not a lot of people can both say, hey, a lot of people say, hey, but they can then take apart the argument step by step. Doing that, though, I asked my wife, do you think this is a good idea? And she said yes, which is that is part of the process. When I got fired, she's like, "What?" I said, "What should I do?" She's like, "What do you want to do?" And that is part of it. That is the consistent, backbone of who I am right now.
Right, and I think what I think stands out to anybody in the marketing field or advertising field listening to this is your kind of combination of storytelling and data. That's also you, right? I think some people can have big personalities, like you can be a media personality or just someone who likes to talk. You can be somebody who's doing a ton of research and really understands. And in this age, access to data is not the problem. It's filtering the data, right? And so you're putting those two things together, I think, in a really unique way.
Thank you.
What about the data piece? Like, is that the iceberg, right? Are you kind of up here talking, and then the bottom of the iceberg is all this research you're doing? Like, how are you getting all this?
Yes.
Organized.
So there's a specific framework. So the business model, for good or bad, is built on being right. You just have to be right. Before I start pitching any kind of thesis, I lay out the facts that most people don't realize. They know, but don't realize. Here's one. 70% of the world's population, 70% of the world's population are millennials and younger. Millennials are turning 46 this year, right? Gen Z is turning 31 this year. Most times when I present that to a room, the whole room goes, really? As if like math is not a thing.
Right.
So suddenly we're talking about things that are real. They're irrefutable, that we now agree you realize that you didn't realize before. And we go from that point forward. So yes, underneath the narrative is all of this data, but it does really begin and end with a framework of work that happens every single day. It's a collection of big data and small data. It's a collection of quant and qual simultaneously, endlessly, cycle after cycle, day after day. It is, I wouldn't say 365 days a year, but it's 300 days a year, 52 weeks a year. And we're rethinking I redo that map of the media universe once a month, currently by hand in PowerPoint. And what it does is it teaches me the trajectories of the universe. I'm not guessing. I'm reading the quarterly earnings reports of as many of the 173 or 74 companies that are on this map as I possibly can get. The only ones I don't read don't exist yet because they're not public. Right. But I chase the latest earnings information from OpenAI and any of these other private companies and try to add them on the map as well. And so we do the homework in a way that other people don't from a quantitative standpoint. We also talk to more people at more levels at different companies in different regions, in different sectors of the media economy than almost anybody else out there. Maybe not in pure numbers, but at the highest levels and in rooms where things are said, where they're not going to go on the record anywhere else. Right? And by doing all of those two things constantly and rewriting constantly, turning over the thesis every 6 months, year after year, going through the earnings quarter after quarter. This is a framework no one else does.
Right.
So it makes me feel on a 90+% certainty that I am right. And then I can go be as much of an asshole about it as I want. And that's good TV, as they say.
Right.
So the
There's all that
brand kind of
preparation
catches on fire.
that underpins it.
It's
and I
very
imagine
punk rock,
you're
man.
connecting you're connecting dots that you're probably getting surprised every day. Oh, you talked to somebody here, you had a conversation here, you read an earnings report here, and you did this, and you're going, oh, right. And then you're coming out, and then
Here's
to everybody
one.
else, it might sound like 3 chords, but you've got the whole body underneath.
Here's
right?
one. Here's one. Right. Here's one for you right here.
Okay.
40% of Generation Z says that the toilet is a top 3 place to watch video.
I
the
believe
number one. What do you think the number one device? I kind of tip the scale here, but what do you think? Here's the larger insight. That is the 3 chords. Right. What's the number one device on the planet Earth for watching video?
I'm going to go with phone.
By a lot. By so much. And we don't talk about that. It's not something that's ever fucking mentioned. No one even thinks to ask the question.
Right.
Which is where I got the toilet question from. And then did the research. We actually fielded that survey. Right. And we compared it to other things, the couch, the bed, the toilet, waiting in line, which is actually the biggest non-home based thing is waiting in line. Actually non-couch based, the largest non-couch based, other non-couch or bed is waiting in line. It's like 35% of the public.
Right. And is that like YouTube Shorts and social video and that kind of stuff? Or
it's any number of things. TikToks, Shorts, Reels. It's YouTube Premium. It's Netflix.
Right. Actually, so
it's
while
Disney
you're on
Plus.
While you say Netflix, you posted something the other day that I meant to ask you. Just being in the audio and TV analytics space, Netflix podcasting strategy. So like, this is probably not the Bill Simmons podcast on a 65-inch screen. Is this tying into the waiting in line?
This is 100% that. This is them trying to become YouTube before the rest of the world becomes YouTube. They are YouTube. Most people do not. Here's another aha moment. Again, mostly because people either don't know to or are afraid to ask. But the number one podcasting platform in the world, YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? Most people don't know that.
Yeah.
And Spotify would rather you just not ask the question.
Oh, I've been lamenting it forever because I'm in the podcast analytics business.
I know.
By analyzing stuff on YouTube, Evan.
I know. It's really
Brad,
tough.
Go get
and
mad
yet
about
more
that
people listen to or watch YouTube. Yeah. 1 billion people a month watch podcasts on YouTube, on TV, just on TV. That's not on phones. That's not on computers. But a lot of that is online. Yes, absolutely. Right. And so if you want to see to the CMOs out there, we are in a post creator economy world. These you have to know to ask the question, what's the number? I spend X number of dollars on video per year. What's the number one device for video on the planet Earth? It's actually the phone. It seems obvious, and yet there's not a lot of conversation around that. Where do I spend most of my money on video? Think about it. And then look at how you're spending it across all these things. What's the content that crosses phone, couch to toilet, frankly? What's the content where you can reach? And frankly, how can I reach the whole consumer from the couch to the toilet and back again? Right? To the waiting in line. That's how you should be thinking about how to spend your money. But if you don't know to ask, what's the number one device in the world for video and media? It's a greater advantage for overall media when you think about it. And a lot of this is driven by the generational studies we're doing around millennials and Gen Z and Gen A as well. But
Right.
that's one big trend that we can spot that others can't because they don't go through this process on a regular basis.
Interesting. So if I were advertising, right, and I'm looking at spending money, and there's obviously these silos that still exist, right? Is it streaming? Is it broadcast? Is it podcast? Is it CTV? Is it like what?
Do you remember the John Wanamaker quote about advertising?
Yeah. Yep.
What is
50%? 50, is this like I've been in your NYU class, your former. So 50% of my ad budget works. I just don't know which 50%. Something like that.
Yeah,
I may have screwed it up.
Half of my marketing budget is wasted. The problem is I don't know which half.
I was close. I was like 80% on that.
My update to that is the best way to waste half of your marketing budget is to treat mobile and television to buy video in silos. It's the greatest way to, I guarantee you will waste half of your marketing budget. If you're not striving for a universal whole consumer, what happens is these companies build audiences and then they go after those audiences across all these platforms. But in doing so, they fragment the buying. Retail media, video, budget, which television, social, never the twain shall meet.
Right.
And all these other creator.
Right.
And now what's going to happen is next year, these companies are going to spend more money boosting creator content that they've paid to make than they spend on making the creator content in the first place. And they buy all of these things in silos with all of this bot viewing out there, fraud, which we know is in the ecosystem across everything, the terrible data across CTV. And they think, oh yes, I'm getting 100% value and return on investment on this media. That's bonkers.
Right.
There's no way.
The creative piece of this too. So you have the media buying kind of inefficiencies, if you will. And then how do you create ads that are going to run in all these different places that are going to be effective?
At this point in time, if I'm not mistaken, both Unilever and Procter & Gamble have machines deep in the silos, the basements of these companies that are A/B testing ads across all the various platforms that they're buying all of the time for all of these brands, and they're using AI to regenerate. And if they're not, why the fuck are they not doing that? These are the two of the largest, if not the two largest advertisers on the face of the earth. If you look at what Unilever is doing just around creators in particular, they've increased, again, here are little nuggets where, you don't come across this factoid unless you're actively looking for it on a daily basis. Unilever increased their creator relationships. These are ongoing, existing relationships with creators who are making content for their various brands. And you've got to realize Unilever has, 1,000 brands, a lot of brands. From 10,000 creators to more than 300,000 creators in 3 years.
So when you define, just for our audience, define creator to the audience.
I'm a creator. There are brands in marketplace who pay me to distribute thought for them across my ecosystem, whether it's my podcast or my newsletter or LinkedIn or
this could be someone giving makeup tips on Instagram, someone.
I am not giving makeup tips.
No, not you.
No one's ever going to see how I do my hair. I could. Are you saying I couldn't?
Listen, I thought for this podcast, I tried to get a little higher. Just to try to make sure
cutting the hair. It's kind of the answer to not having
so hair. I'm almost.
But you have to understand that.
But are they influencers? Like,
well, there's influencer marketing, which is where it all kind of began. You're right, but then increasingly, you're talking about people who know they do long form content, traditionally. Often podcasts, often tutorials on social video, YouTube and others. In my case, I write a newsletter, I do a podcast, I write on LinkedIn. It varies. What's happening though is it's a migration away from pure influencers who have hundreds, the Kylie Jenners of the world, who are really mostly actively promoting their own brands. That's how good they are. Kylie Jenner is such a good creator. Not influencer. Such a good creator. She made $1 billion brand by her fucking self. Right. Yes, her company has her her family, aka company, Kardashian Inc., is great at creating stars, but she then turned that into a singular billion-dollar brand on her own, which is incredible.
That's
But
creative
there are
versus
others:
influence,
Jessica
yeah.
Alba, Jennifer Garner. Reese Witherspoon created Happy Sunshine, Hello Sunshine into a billion-dollar brand all to herself, B2B brand primarily. So there are other examples out there, but it is migrating more towards a creator culture. People who actually put out shows, long-form shows, and other long-form content. And crucially, the mid-level creators and smaller are much more effective. This is where the Unilever data comes into play than the massive ones. It's better to have relationships with 100, $500,000 follower creators than it is 100 million influencer.
Okay.
That's where the market is moving.
And what about the brands who come in who aren't Unilever? So like the promise of a lot of connected TV programmatic buying, or even in podcast advertising, is some SMB who, is a regional business or whatever can now advertise on TV. Anybody can do it with a small budget. Yeah. But they're creative, right? And the audience they're trying to reach is also competing with this other audience. How does that work for them? Are they at a disadvantage?
There are a lot of talking points in every single upfront cycle. The full frontal television,
right,
is one of the biggest ones this year. Fully, what is it? Intelligent, whatever, some spin on AI. And all of them kind of get rolled into one of the biggest talking points for the last 2 or 3 years, which is SMB.
Right.
And that's because that's where a lot of the biggest platforms, especially in connected television, believe that their next big growth is going to come from.
Yeah. Is that true? Do you think?
Yes, there are 60% of people who buy video in the United States only buy YouTube. So there are a ton of small companies who are only, and when you buy on YouTube, you go into the back end and they will make an ad for you.
Right.
Meta will make an ad for you.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, Paramount Plus, Mountain, all these guys,
yes,
right? Like
they're all doing this now, and
Scientific.
right, exactly,
yeah.
and so that's proliferating. So now the barriers to entry are really small. The problem is no one's optimizing for what's working for them on Facebook, which is still the number one way any local business right now drives business, period. It's not even close second place. And what they're doing on television to optimize in real time. So this creative is working here, so you change the creative on television. There's no continuum that does that. So until and unless that happens, why am I trading out the ROI from Facebook for television? By the way, and the television data is just it's just so terrible, right? Yes, I can buy it.
Right.
Do I want to buy it?
We're working on it. I couldn't tell you.
It's atrocious. It's embarrassing. And I come from TV. So the walled gardens get to grade their own homework because they got way more classes to grade. There's more. We understand. I actually can see what's happening in real time and change my campaign in real time to adjust for success and for failure. I can A/B test. I can't do that on television to any real scale, and especially not at the SMB or where I say the rubber's going to hit the road, the TMB, the tiny mid-sized businesses. Here's something that's actually going to change television advertising and video advertising in the United States, though, forever. The midterm elections in November are going to pump $13 billion in advertising across the ecosystem. That it is basically found money. It's not found money. We knew it was coming, but it's much larger than the last midterms. Right. And it portends a huge spend in 2 years. So the need to hyper localize and do everything I just talked about of the campaigns, and we're talking about hyper local, school board level, judge level, house level, gerrymandering level, that's going to pump through new intelligence through the ecosystem. That's going to change specifically connected television measurement, I believe, in a good way. Maybe not for good purposes, but it will improve the accountability of the television ecosystem, I think, in important ways. And I think improve reporting and accountability across all advertising in ways that will be beneficial for advertisers.
Yeah. No, and that's, look, I spend every day of my life trying to improve the data across CTV, podcasting, and these areas that are still new. And we've got a lot of work to do and a long way to go. So just turning it back to Evan for a second, because I could have five podcasts of asking you questions specifically about, and maybe I'll do a post about this whole promise that is kind of out there for connected television and small businesses, how that, if there's a reckoning over the course of the next few years, because you see it as, because Meta's involved, which always makes things dicey, and YouTube's involved, and then there's this kind of squeeze in the middle of growth. And to me, that's going to create something. It's unclear how that shakes out. I'm sure I'll be looking to you to have a good chart about it, maybe 2 years from now, and maybe as November comes around. But back to you for a second. So you're constantly on the stage. This is our kind of wrap up here. Portugal, some private company, Miami. I can't keep track. So Cannes, you're going
Denver for Stream TV again.
Oh, that's right. So that just happened, or it's coming in June?
No, that's happening in June.
All right. So how, just like, as we're obviously back with travel from COVID, you're out there. How much of your time is spent on the road right now? Like, are you out there every week?
I think in a 52-week year, which most years are, I think I'll probably be on the road around between 20 and 30 weeks.
And how much do you feel that matters? Like, I think it's part of your brand and part of your kind of existence to be in these places, right? I imagine.
It's not just first of all, it is a huge part of our business. Right. Live is now, I would say, probably a third of our business, if not more. But secondarily, and it's great marketing. So every time I appear on stage, usually I'm getting paid, and whether or not I am, I always pick up new business. So it becomes its own flywheel. But secondarily, the content we put out there, it is, people seem to appreciate it. So the content making business is a big part of what we do now. The Substack, the newsletter, LinkedIn, the podcast.
Your podcast, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You started a podcast from scratch. Like, was it 3 years ago?
2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years.
It's gone very, very well. It's become, we won a Webby this year for content.
Congratulations, by the way.
Not for consulting. And so we are a creator business. And so it really, this is part of what we do, is creating it live it's like my version of stand up to a certain extent.
Do you feel that's mattering more?
So I am very energized by it.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you feel like that's mattering more in a world of AI? Because I think it seems like the energy, when I saw you speak at Possible, it was jammed, right? You're seeing every time you see, it's like everybody's there, but it stands out. Like there's a lot. I know. Do you feel like there's more of an emphasis on it now than?
Well, there's two parts of it though. So the first is that going to these places, and I also never present the same presentation twice, ever. And so preparing to present at Miami at Possible, but then at MIP London, Cannes Lion. I'm presenting for YouTube in Milan, for Ferrero in Chicago. As I adapt for these rooms all over the world, for a CTV summit in Brazil last year, I learn new things. And it's part of the advantage in the process of just having a better vision of what's actually happening right now in the world than most can find out there. So that's thing number one. The thing number two is, the live portion of it is such a thrill for me personally.
Right. So you enjoy that
part. It is my. I said this earlier. Being that prepared, being able to spit out facts live, not just in a presentation prepared. By the way, I use no notes. I use no scripts. I go live unchained, and then answer questions live, usually very often in the audience, either live from stage or otherwise. That's my version of punk rock. And it is very much the brand, writ large, and the product that we're selling out there in the world. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. And I think what's interesting to me, and just to kind of when one, we want to talk about the meat of this was a lot of the marketing and advertising content we just went through. But I think also seeing how you're positioning someone as a creator, which is you being a creator, with someone who has data and analytics and is communicating in a B2B context. And to me, that kind of crossover conversation, I think the conversation has gotten more casual, and I think you're certainly contributing to that. But in doing this season of the Sonic Truth, well, it's like, I think people are a little less formal in their kind of presentation of information. People are a little more transparent, willing to share. And when you're out there on the stage, I think presenting this way, I think it makes other C-level and VP level people at organizations, they want to engage, and they see that, and I think it makes the conversation it's more acceptable to say fuck it or whatever. You've done a lot of work for profanity, but a lot of work for people sharing transparent information, because if everyone keeps everything inside, no one gets better at anything. Right. So you're breaking down barriers.
I'm often brought into companies too. So I do this on stage, and I think there's an entertaining fashion aspect of it. But I'm often brought in companies by heads of strategy who want me to be that blunt directly to a CEO face to face. To have that CEO say, well, but, me go, well, but, what the fuck, dude?
Right.
No, that's not actually how it works. And we do that. That's a once weekly kind of thing that we do.
Right.
So behind closed doors, as you said, and it very often alters the trajectory of companies. So I think what your audience needs to realize writ large. I mentioned Scott Galloway. I mentioned Gary Vee. There's the president of the United States. The lesson here isn't be an asshole, although most of those people are. The key here is the more authentic you are, you will find a fervent audience for it. You will definitely alienate some people. That is gonna happen, right? But it's better than putting on an artifice and becoming the McDonald's. Was it the McDonald's CEO who fucked up eating the Whopper or the Burger King one? Yeah. So you don't want to be the one everybody, you pretend, you cosplay something, right? And then you get caught on that. That's bullshit. And by the way, cosplaying creator is a phrase I'm stealing from the head of TF1 Info, who does a lot of work. And there's a great interview with him, Julian Laurent, on our my Substack newsletter, Media War and Peace, which you can subscribe to right now. I will wait. Pause here. But he talks about not cosplaying creator, but actually working with creators and truly collaborating and creating something new. Derivative art that the two of them can own together. That's how you operate in this world now. It isn't cosplaying. It isn't, speaking Bay to youth, right? It is realizing that 70% of the world's population are millennials and younger, and they just want to hear the truth from you. However you act in the boardroom, act that way out loud. And if you're embarrassed by that, well, then maybe don't do those things anymore.
Yeah, well, it's also, I think
you
people
can't act the way that you do behind closed doors out there on social media right now, and you're running a business, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing.
Yeah. No, and I think anybody who's like, I'm the CEO of a company and I'm older, right? So like I've been through those things where you can't be worried about people not liking you, which is a very common trait to have, right? And I think like especially in executive leadership, especially when you're at a larger organization, that's harder. At a smaller organization, that might be a little easier. But that big company culture, and that's how you get entire industries.
The new rules, they go blind the same way, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. The sooner you realize that you're going to alienate, or you decide not to care about alienating certain people, you'll start making better decisions.
Right. I'd like to think, and this can be your closing point, and when you should write a book if you're not working on it already.
I am.
I'm sure I'd like to think so. I gave you can say you stole that idea from me, but you're already writing enough content that I think a book's not a huge stretch for you. And I'm sure you've got a few angles, but I'd like to think that by the time you just had your birthday, and I think, did you turn 60? Can I say that?
No, 59. I'm in my 60th. I'm in my 60th year.
All right,
but
in
I
your
am not
60th year,
60
59.
Yeah.
Jump the gun. We'll have you back next year.
It's okay.
But I'd like to think
at
by
that
the
point,
time,
Scott, you're supposed to say to your guest, "You don't look 60," but thanks.
You don't actually.
Thank you.
So
I know that. That's why I brought that up.
You're not afraid. So, but I will say I should have gone on the under too. I would, if I were a good host,
right.
I would have at
Thank
least
you.
aired on the low side.
Right.
But no, I will say
Fuck you.
by the time you get to 60, I'd like to think that if you would not get fired from a big media company if you behave that way now. I think in the 10 years of your journey, when it kind of goes that full loop, I'd like to think you've changed the corporate perception of being a change agent enough that the Evan of then, if you would not get fired now. That's my that's my hope.
The best. I appreciate that.
Even though I got your age wrong by a year.
That's okay. But I think the most important thing about the best thing about where I am right now is that I work for the one person I can hold accountable, and that's me. And I don't know that I'm ever going to trade that. Can I fire myself? My wife could fire me. I guess she is our CFO, and you've met her, and so
I'm not
yeah, you know how tough she is. So there's a day coming that maybe I do get fired, but the best decision or the best part of the results of where I am today are that I hold myself accountable, and that's the only thing that actually matters.
Right.
In the trajectory of my career from this point forward. I don't think I will, unless something drastically goes wrong, I don't think I'm going to give that up in the next 10 years.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for this. I am an unapologetic fan. Hopefully I didn't come off like a fanboy on the
Not
on
at
the
all.
podcast,
You called me old.
That's true. I just tried to insult you just to throw.
You were the
people off
opposite of a
Yeah.
sycophantic fan.
Yeah, I'll
You're an
throw them off the
insulting heckler. Hey, old
That's
man.
Maybe I'll
Where
get
do you hope
fired
to be in a year?
I'll get fired by
Alive?
advertising week. That's it. But so where can people catch you? Give me some shameless plugs. I know you're going to be at Cannes. What's coming down the pipe?
The beauty part of a podcast is that while with the device that you're probably using to listen to or watch this podcast, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Media War and Peace. It's on Substack. You can subscribe to our podcast, The Media Odyssey. You can find me on LinkedIn.